Um, Speaking of rise of the 49ers, Kirk Cousins 8 hours ago chimed in on it. He tweeted, "Really enjoyed watching Rise of the 49ers on AMC. Compelling storytelling of a head coach, owner, and players who shaped so much of what pro football has become. Hashtag Rise of the 49ers." Almost like Magic Johnson wrote it. Top tweet. So you're signing, top response. So you're signing with the 49ers is what I'm hearing after they trade Mac Jones. I think that's probably what went through everyone's mind. All of a sudden, he's sort of like sucking up to the 49ers or at least mentioning them. Do you think if the 49ers get the second round pick, which they expect to get for Mac Jones, and they trade him, that they would make an offer to Kirk Cousins and he would be interested in backing up Brock Purdy for a year or two?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just think about it. Because you got to think these things through, how they logically and how they actually go down. Yeah, it's easy to go, hey, no, man, the Jets can pay more. Oh, hey, no, man, the Jets can make him their starter. Okay. But he's having a conversation with his wife and his kids, who he loves. And they're like, Kirk, we don't want you to play anymore, man. You're going to get killed. And he's like, no, I still want to play. I get that hunger to win the ring and this and that. What are your choices? I can be the starter with the Jets behind a bad line and get absolutely crushed on the worst turf in the league and probably wind up with some kind of long-range health issue. I've already made $335 million on the field and another 150 probably off the field, so I don't need any money. I'm going to go back up Brock Purdy, who's really cool, and work with Shanahan, who I really believe in. And guess what? Brock's hurt a lot, and I could wind up going there. I'll play a little bit. I could wind up with that ring if I'm going to get a ring, this is the best way for me to get that ring. At this point, I got all the money. I played for two reasons: the money and the ring. I got the money. I need the ring. So I'm going to join Shanahan and Purdy, and I don't want to say it out loud, but maybe hope that Brock gets hurt and then I'm standing in Super Bowl Sunday like Sam Darnold. I'm sure there's got to be a lot of quarterbacks around football that are sitting there going, I can win the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold just won it.
Right? I mean, I was thinking the same thing. All of a sudden, it seems like you don't need to have a Hall of Fame quarterback to win a Super Bowl. What you need to have is an all-time great defense. And to have that, maybe you shouldn't be spending a lot of money on your quarterback. Either you have one on a rookie deal or you have a guy who's affordable, a la Kirk Cousins. He's experienced. He's good. He played pretty well for the Falcons last year. He's been on some bad teams. I could see him wanting to play for the 49ers. I'm sure he wants to start. But what's nice about the 49ers opportunity is that Brock hasn't really proven that he can stay healthy. He misses games. And when the backup gets to play, Mac Jones did really well. I'm sure Kirk thinks he's better than Mac Jones. Kirk is like best. I'm not saying he's very good friends with Kyle Shanahan. From what I heard, from what I hear, they're still in contact regularly. So I kind of feel like they almost have a pact. And before we retire, let's do it one time. I think it's going to happen. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Kirk Cousins, and I think it would be good for Brock. The last 2 years, well, 3, Darnold and Mac have been good for him, but they've kind of been like learning from Brock. They've talked about it. I'm trying to get my career back on track. I just got to see what Brock does. Kirk Cousins is 38 years old. He's very confident in who he is. He may not think he's better than Brock, but he's not learning from Brock. He would push Brock, and I think maybe help Brock mature a little bit. We forget that Brock's still only 25 years old.
The central figure in the Niners story is Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle Shanahan knows. I mean, the way Kyle Shanahan coaches, he's measuring risk all the time. It's not like he just goes for it all the time. He's not the go for it all the time guy. And it's like if he gets to 3rd and long and he's backed up inside his 10, he halfback draw, and here comes Thomas Morstead. He knows how to manage a game, right? And he's going to manage his career the same way. He knows for a fact that if he didn't have Mac Jones this year, instead of going 12-win season, they probably win 7 games or 8 games, and they're sub 500, and there is heat in his kitchen from Jed, from the fans, from everybody, us and everybody else. He knows that's the truth. So what does he want?
Yeah, if his backup was Brandon Allen last year, they could have went 0-8 without. Could have gone 0-8 without.
Exactly. So Shanahan learned a lot this year, and he learns these things. Everything's about experiencing it. So he learned that. So now it's like you got to have the really good backup. But then you got to move Mac Jones because your team is so far behind Seattle that you need the assets that a Mac Jones trade will bring. They'll be huge. They should be huge if you do it right, as far as how you're going to win next year. So you need to move Mac Jones for that reason. But you also got to have a quarterback that you can win with as your backup. So I don't think Rourke is it. I don't think Martinez is it. But I do think Cousins is it. And I think Falcons are going to cut him. And he's made $300 million. And I think he could start, but probably only for the Jets or Cardinals. And then that's the question. Would he prefer at this point to start for the Jets and Cardinals for a few more bucks, or is he about the ring? And I would guess, and I've interviewed him a couple times, he's got money. It's about relationships and rings at this point. And that's Shanahan. And I think Purdy, also Darnold probably has lit the fuse into a lot. I mean, look at Derek Carr's like, hey, I want to get back in. There's all these guys who are looking at Darnold going, that guy's a donkey and he's got a ring. I can do that. And so I'm sure that's feeding the fires of a lot of mediocre NFL quarterbacks. But that aside, I like Kirk Cousins. I think it would be a great fit. And I think it makes sense. And now the question is, how greedy is he? It's like, Kirk, you've made $350 million. Why don't you come here for a really cheap Mac Jones $5 million kind of backup and let the Niners go add another offensive lineman or defensive lineman or corner or whatever with that money?
I mean, Sam Darnold was on his way out of the league. The Niners brought him on 2 years later, Super Bowl champion. Mac Jones was on his way out of the league.
Yeah.
Niners brought him on. Now he's worth a second-round pick in a trade, something like that. Who knows what he has in store for his future? Future looks bright for Mac Jones. I could see a lot of people wanting to be the backup quarterback for Brock Purdy. I mean, it seems like a career springboard. You're probably going to get a chance to play. And even if you don't, in the case of Sam Darnold, people will want you because you all of a sudden know Kyle Shanahan's system. Although Kirk Cousins has known it for a while. I would imagine from his perspective, it would be nice to go back to Minnesota and take J.J. McCarthy's job. I mean, that's a pretty good team, pretty good wide receivers. But if that's not available and he isn't he has to choose between the Cardinals and the Jets, then yeah, go to the Niners for a year. And in a year, I bet a lot of teams will want you.
Yeah. And by the way, to tie this all together to what we started off with, how about a Mac Jones to the Raiders kind of a trade that's then, because to me, the Niners' best chance of making a trade that's both palatable to the Raiders and palatable to the Niners is if Mac Jones is involved. Because without Mac Jones, I don't think it works. Because with Mac Jones, then you can just say, here's Mac Jones and a pick. But without Mac Jones, then it's like we want 2 1s and a player and what play. You said it. They want the Parsons deal. Parsons deal was 2 1s and Kenny Clark. The Niners don't want to trade 2 1s, and they don't have a Kenny Clark. So, you know what I mean? It's like there's no deal there. But I do think there's a deal if somehow the Raiders get cold feet about Mendoza for whatever reason and just say, hey, you know what? We'll replace Max with Arvell Reese, and he'll be the edge, beast that we have, and we'll start with Mac Jones. It'll be less risk anyway, and we don't want to stomach a long-term rebuild. And Mendoza, because Mendoza's personality he's a good guy, but he's a little different, and some people may have questions, and I bet you the Raiders, who are known to be a franchise, Grant, that has no conviction at all personnel-wise. I bet you anything that they're going to get nervous about Mendoza and opt for the safer Ohio State defensive player.
I see. To me, the fact that they hired Clint Kubiak indicates that they're going to take Mendoza, for better or worse. I think that they're thinking if
Darnold,
Clint Kubiak,
he just had a Darnold reclamation project. Personally, I think Mac Jones is a better reclamation project candidate than Darnold. I think he processes better. I think he's more accurate.
I agree with you on that. I would just imagine that I think the Raiders want Mendoza, and when they were interviewing coaches, they kind of wanted coaches to say that they like Mendoza and that what they could do with Mendoza. And I think probably part of how Clint Kubiak sold himself to the Raiders was all the things he said he can do with Mendoza. I could be wrong. Maybe he went into the Raiders was like, Mendoza sucks. If you hire me, we're trading for Mac Jones. And they loved that idea. I don't know. That would be a cool idea if I heard it, but I would imagine they're gonna go with
I know.
Mendoza. I don't
Let's just say
think it's
this
gonna be
though.
the right move.
Let's just say this about this. I know it appears that going with Mendoza would be the safe play, but in reality, going with the awesome premier defender like a Will Anderson, and that's what I see in Arvel Reese, probably is the safer play because Mac Jones can be at least a this, where Mendoza may be that, but Mendoza may be this. So I don't know. I think the safer play is to go with Mac Jones in the big time defensive player, but I think you're right. I think they're probably going to go Mendoza.
All right.